Welcome to part 2, where we'll be creating this beautiful turban headband. I've listed the supplies needed in the description box below. We'll need scissors, fabric of your choice, 1-inch elastic, pins, a fabric pencil, ruler or tape measure, a safety pin or fabric turner. What I do is take the length of the fabric, usually, and I cut 10 inches of it. Then I fold it the short way and then fold it again the long way. And this gives me the 4 layers I need for the headband. I use a template just because it's easier for me to create them quicker because I make so many of them for my Etsy shop. So just trace the template or cut out the 4 pieces. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. If you don't have one long piece of fabric, just use 4 pieces of fabric, put them together and cut those 4 pieces you'll need. Okay, and once you have those 4 layers cut, you can go ahead and put 2 pieces together, right sides facing each other. Now with this beautiful and carved fabric, it's hard to tell which side is the right side because both sides are so colorful. And after you put those together, you can go ahead and pin it from one end to the other. I just put 1 pin in each piece just to keep it together. And then I sew from one corner to the other on both pieces. Now we'll need a 3.5 by 10 inch piece of fabric. This is what we'll use to cover the headband, to cover the elastic for the headband. Just go ahead and pin that in place. And then you'll sew from one end to the other. Okay, now that we have the pieces layered, let's go ahead and start sewing. Make sure you backstitch at the beginning and end of each stitch. I sew at about an 1/8 inch seam allowance just to avoid having to trim the excess fabric. Remove any pins as you sew to avoid breaking your needle. Then do the other side. And make sure you keep the layers lined up. As you stitch, and then go ahead and do the other piece. Okay, now that we've completed both pieces, go ahead and trim your thread, and then you can turn both pieces right side out, leaving the seams on the sides. So we have the seams on the sides, not the front, not the middle, but the sides of each piece. And when we iron it, we'll iron those seams flat. And I forgot to actually show you this on camera, but go ahead and stitch the elastic cover about 3/8 inch. And then go ahead and trim the excess fabric off before turning it. You can turn the fabric by using either a safety pin or a fabric turner. The safety pin, you just stick it through one layer on one side of the fabric. You close the pin and then kind of feed it through. And as you pull the pin through, you pull the fabric down. And then once you have the fabric through, you can remove the pin. Now, if you're planning on selling a lot of these, if you like to sell them on Etsy like I do, the fabric turner is excellent. Very inexpensive, but very easy to use. All you do is put the tube through the fabric, stick the fabric kind of inside one of the little holes, and then put the dowel into that hole and push the fabric through. Very quick, very easy. I'll link that tool below. Now we can begin assembling the headband. We'll make an X. And then we'll pull one side to meet the other side. Make sure you line those up and then go ahead and pin that in place. And then pull the other two sides together as well. Line those up as well. I like to kind of tug on it at this point to actually form the turban or the knot. And then go ahead and pin the other end. Then we'll go back to the sewing machine to go ahead and sew the elastic into the fabric. And then attach it to the actual headband. Okay, so here you use that safety pin again and go ahead and put that in there and feed the pin through about halfway until the fabric meets the end of the elastic, and then go ahead and sew a seam there back and forth towards the end just to attach it to the fabric, and then continue feeding that safety pin through the other end. Then you can remove it and sew another seam back and forth on that end just to secure the elastic. Go ahead and trim your thread, and then we'll go ahead and attach it to the headband. So get one side of the headband, put the seam of the elastic facing up, facing you. You can fold it over like this. Make sure it's even and lined up. Now, if you have a heavy-duty sewing machine like I do, you can probably just sew this all in one go. I like to sew half of mine first and then fold over the other half and sew that part. I just feel like it makes it a little more secure. And then I go ahead and sew it about 4 or 5 times just to make sure that the elastic is secure within the headband. And then you'll pull the elastic from the other side, the other end, and go ahead and get the other end of the headband and attach that with the seam of the elastic facing you. And then fold over each side. Make sure it's even. And then sew back and forth about 4 or 5 times. Okay, now we're back at the cutting table. Go ahead and trim the ends of the elastic. I do this to make it less bulky. And once you do that, go ahead and flip the headband over the elastic on each side. And then go ahead and flip the headband as well. And just kind of straighten it out to remove all the folds. You can kind of get it the way you want it, whatever your preference is. That's a single headband there. I prefer a double headband, so I like to spread it apart, the 2 layers apart, to make it a little wider. And it's so simple, so easy to do. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and leave any questions, comments, or suggestions below.